Everyone, welcome back to the Dad Den Uncut for this week. I got a big one to talk about today. This week we're talking about divorce. We're talking about divorce from the most important perspective, the child. I am not a divorced dad. That's why I'm not talking about being a divorced dad. I'm not going to talk about something I don't have experience in. I am the product of a divorced household. I am the product of a toxic divorce, you could say. And I think I need to shine some light here on, and hopefully some people that really need to hear this, hear it. Hopefully maybe it'll kind of give them a wake-up call. So this is not going to be a very fun topic for people to maybe hear today. But at the end of this, if you agree with me, if you think that you might know someone that needs to hear this, give this a share. Whether you share the Podbean link or you share the YouTube link for it, give it a share. Like I said with many of my other posts and many of my other podcasts, you don't know who needs to hear what I'm saying. These topics aren't bad topics. I'm not looking to offend anyone. This episode very well could offend some people. But this is the episode for both moms and dads to hear. I want all of you to hear it. And hopefully some of you can get your heads out of your asses. So, by the way, if anyone can hear like background noise, like buzzing, it's a box fan that I have in here to try to cool it down. So I apologize if that's kind of annoying some people here. So let's jump right in here, because I could probably, looking at everything I have planned for this, I don't want this episode to go too long on people. So let's jump right in. The first thing that I want to talk about for everyone, and I think this is the biggest rule, not necessarily rule, but advice I could potentially give. So, yes, we're talking about divorce, separation, how the kids are handling it. But most importantly, don't avoid divorce or separation just because of the children, just because you have children together. Don't force a bad or toxic relationship for the sake of the kids, because a hostile or toxic household is going to be a lot worse than a separated household. You're not doing anyone any favors by staying together and living together where the kids are all, with mom and dad, but mom and dad every single day wake up fighting from morning till night. That's not a good environment for the children to be in. If you do it right and you separate and you co-parent correctly, kids will be just fine. Everyone will be a lot happier overall, right? And it's not helping anyone. Both parents are going to be miserable because they're in a relationship that I'm assuming both of them, or at least one of them, will agree that they shouldn't be in. The kids are miserable because mom and dad are sitting there fighting every day and they don't want to hear it. They don't need to hear it. They shouldn't be. So let's talk about for me. And again, I'm talking about this whole subject is from the kids' perspective. I'm talking about here from my perspective, from when I was growing up, as my parents were fighting and then divorced, and then what I went through as part of their divorce, because I was part of it. So I was 10 years old. My parents first split up. Dad moved out, and I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 when the divorce was final. Took like a year or two. But leading up to the divorce, you probably assume, parents fought a lot. It seemed like stupid stuff. I would go run away and, lock myself in a bedroom or so to get away from it, until finally I'd snap and I'd run out in between them and just scream at them to, stop fighting. Because I hated it. I didn't like to see my parents fight. I don't know what kid would like to see that. But then, moving on into the whole divorce process. So it was very combative. no matter where it was, what the occasion was, my mom and dad couldn't be in the same house or the same room together. Whether it be going to one of my sports games growing up or a school event, most of the time they would sit completely opposite sides of each other. They wouldn't say a word to each other after the game or event. When I go back to see them, let's say a school concert, I'd come out and mom would be sitting there greeting me. I'd go up, give her a hug and everything. And then my dad would be sitting off to the side waiting for me to see them and be done with my mom so I can go see them. Instead of me being able to see my parents, I would have to do one and then go and find the other one because they didn't want to be, near each other. Which kind of talks about from last week. I mean, the whole avoiding conflict, it's not really helping. But to get into that a little bit more, go ahead and listen to last week's podcast. So, like I said before, I was very involved in their divorce. So I was the middleman. If mom had to say something to dad, if something was going on with school or, anything like that, it was either said to me or given to me as a note, and I would have to go and give it to my dad when I saw him next, and vice versa. My dad would also do it back through me to give to my mom. Child support checks were sent home with me. I was their communication. I'm 11 years old. And at the time, I don't know, my parents were older, so they're probably 50s. Trying to think when they got divorced. Yeah, they were about 50, 51 was my mom, 54, 55 my dad. But anyway, so an 11-year-old was communicating for two adults because they could not communicate without it being an argument. While I was with each one of them, whether they knew it or not, and they both listen and watch my podcast, so Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but you're about to hear it now. This one's all about you guys. I'm sure I'm going to get a text about this Thursday afternoon after they listen to this one. But anyway, so while I was with each one of them, and whether they knew that they were doing it or not, they would talk bad about the other one. And neither of them are innocent in this because they both did it. Mom would sit there and be like, I can't believe your father's doing this, and this to me. He's doing it to me, but he's really doing it to you, and vice versa. My dad would go, your mother puts me through this, and this. That's why I couldn't be married to her, on and on and on. And that's why I can't believe you have to deal with it. And this is not me taking shots at my parents. This is not me saying, why did you do this at all? This was 13 years ago, so whatever. It's done and over with here. I'm using you guys more as an example. Set yourself up for here. But this is not what an 11-year-old should be subject to. 11, pushing preteen, I should be more focused on, school, friends, sports, not what are my parents doing to each other in divorce court. And unfortunately, I was told about things like that. They would tell me what's going on in divorce court and how one's screwing them out of the other and of money or whatever else. I lost my childhood home that I grew up in for 10 years. And I didn't care why I was losing my childhood home at the time. I cared just the fact that I'm losing my home and I have to move into an apartment or another house or so on. But what was told to me was mom blamed my dad and dad blamed my mom. It was, and they directly said that to me. Well, your mom could have just kept the house if so and so, or we're losing the house because your dad did X, Y, and Z. That's what me as an 11-year-old is being subject to. So I went from being in a toxic household of, just fighting and arguments for a few years before they divorced and separated, to now they're separated, but I'm thrown in the middle of their arguments because they don't want to actually talk, and they're just talking bad about one another to me. That's not what an 11-year-old should be hearing. You know, the one thing that I will say that both of them did very well was like Christmas, birthdays. You know, Christmas time, my dad would take me to the mall and he'd help me shop, and he would pay for me to get a birthday present and a Christmas present for my mom, and vice versa. My mom would help me go out and pick something out for my dad for birthday and Christmas. So that is something that I am extremely grateful that they did at least do, so that I can get, you know, I wanted to give my parents presents, but I was 11 years old. I didn't really have a lot of money. So they would just take me to go and do that, which I am extremely grateful for. Mom, Dad, for listening to this. Thank you for that. But that is how that particular situation should be more of what divorce and separation is, for the sake of the kids. You know, I don't care if you don't get along with your ex, or if you don't see eye to eye, if you can't stand a word that comes out of their mouth, you don't want to hear it or anything. I don't care. I don't. This is no longer about you and no longer about your ex-spouse. That's thrown out the window. You lost that opportunity the moment you had children together. And again, this is for moms and dads that are separated. I want you both to hear it, because there are so many people that are guilty of this, whether your mom or your dad. You both do it. I don't want to hear otherwise. There are quite a few divorced couples out there that I know personally that do get along very well for the sake of the kids, and you know, they have good relationships, but there's few, very few. There's not enough of them. Too many times you just hear about, you know, oh, my ex is a bitch, oh, my ex is a dickhead, you know, he ruined my life. So yeah, I mean, let's talk about it from my perspective more. As an 10, 11-year-old, so on, I did not ever have the idea of, I want mom and dad back together. That's not ever where I wanted to go on that, because I fully understood, even at a younger age like that, I understood that they were not meant to be together, right? I mean, that, and plus, from living in the house, seeing fighting and everything, and I didn't want to go back to that. So that's not where I saw it. The only things I wanted was, number one, I wanted to be left out of it. I didn't want to be put in the middle of, sorry, I thought someone was walking in here. I didn't want to be put in the middle of an argument, or put in the middle of the divorce, or what's going on, or why we lost the house, or, you know, why, whatever, or what dad did or what mom did. I didn't want to hear any of that. I didn't want to be the middleman. I didn't want to hear that. The only thing I wanted to do was I wanted to see you at least be able to coexist. I wanted to be able to go and get off the hockey rink and walk out and be able to greet my mom and dad, at least in the same vicinity, and hear, hey, good game. You know, I wanted at least some type of coexist, because from their perspective, they're now living their separate lives, but their lives are still connected by yours truly here. There's no separating that. So all your moms and dads out there that are calling each other deadbeats and, you know, my ex is a deadbeat. He won't see his kids. Well, he won't see his kids because probably court said he can't see his kids. Or the guy's out there saying, oh, my ex is such a bitch. I can't stand her. All she does is just, do this, and this. Stop. You're not together anymore. You're not living together anymore. Stop fighting. There's no reason to fight. If something happens to the kid, let's talk about school. Hey, little Jimmy got an F on his English paper. Whoever gets the mail, or if you both get mail. But if one of them gets the mail, hey, Jimmy got an F for English this semester. What do you think about that? Obviously bad, but it's going back to the conflict resolution that we were talking about last week. Be collaborative. Work together to parent your children. And it's not rocket science. You don't have to be together in a intimate relationship to be able to parent your children. Whether you like it or not, you still have some type of relationship with your ex if you have children together. That's not changing. You have children together, you have some type of relationship. It's not intimate, but it is almost like a working relationship. You still have to be cooperative. So, okay, hey, you know what? He's at my house 3 days a week. He's at your house 4 days a week. Every time he comes over and every time he's at home, let's make sure that we talk to him about his homework, on what needs to come out, and make sure he gets it done, and we check it. That is something that you're working together on. All right. The fact that either mom or dad gets left out and has to find out either from, the kid themselves that they're not doing well in school or something happened, that's not right. It's not fair to the child either that they have to be put in the middle of that. If the kid's sick and has to go to the doctor, let the other one know. Hey, Jimmy busted his leg. We had to go to the ER last night. Or we had to go to the ER. While you're there, hell, if me and my wife were separated right now, and Addie went and broke her leg, call me on the way to the hospital because I'm going to be there. Don't tell me afterwards. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to my child, and so on. And again, from the child's perspective, something's going wrong. I want my parents there with me together. There for me, not there for each other. Be there for your children. I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not co-parent together, both parties, if you involve your children in your bullshit of what you're doing together or apart and why the other one's doing it, if you involve your child like that, you are not being a good parent right then. That is not good parenting. That is not looking out for your child's best interest at all. Moms, dads, anyone. You are not looking out for your child's best interest by sitting there and continuing to be hostile with your ex and continuing to treat your child as the middleman so you don't have to deal with your ex and talking bad about the other person. A child wants to just simply love their mom and dad. They don't want to know all of the intertwinings of their personal relationship between the two of them and their intimate relationship. They don't want to know that mom cheated or dad cheated or dad screwed us out of a bunch of debt, so now we have to sell the house or whatever else. Whatever the situation is. The kid does not need to know that. They don't want to know that. They want to be loved and love their parents equally, which they will. And if you deprive them of the other parent, you're not hurting the other parent. You're hurting your child. What you're doing is you're using your child as a tool and a pawn to hurt the other. Let's take, for example, and I'm not going to use mom and dad because it happens both ways. More often than not, you can guess, but We're going to use parent A and parent B. Parent A keeps the kids from parent B. Parent B hasn't seen the kids in a few weeks, few months, year. Parent A's idea of it is, well, parent B is a complete psycho bitch or a douchebag asshole, treated me like shit, cheated on me. So you know what? They don't get to see their kids. They don't deserve to see their kids. Yeah, it's certainly hurting parent B because parent B wants to see the kids. But who's hurting more? You now have children that don't get to see their mother or their father. What? If you have two parents that are willing and want to be in their children's lives, why in the world does it make any sort of sense to say that A or B cannot be in their children's lives? And of course, there's exceptions like legal child abuse or, you know, some other type of abuse or in jail. There's situations, obviously, there are exceptions. But your normal everyday situation of mom and dad split up because they're obviously not good together, but they have children together, and all of a sudden mom gets primary custody or dad gets primary custody and they don't allow the other one to see their kids. You're not necessarily hurting the other parent. You're hurting your children. You are abusing your damn children by refusing to allow them to see the other parent. I don't give a shit if you don't love them anymore, but your kids do. That I don't know how many different ways I can talk about this without getting really pissed off. You need to co-parent. You're not in an intimate relationship anymore. You're not living in the same house anymore. You're not having to put up with each other's bullshit on a daily basis anymore. But for the sake of your children, get your shit together and get along. Coexist. You can coexist in the same world with your children because you still all have a life together. Whether you're living in the same household together and you see each other on a daily basis, you do have a relationship together through your children. And it is not going to hurt anyone besides your children if you put them in the middle of it. Or if you talk bad about the other one in front of them. They don't need to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Let's look at all the statistics. You know, of criminals on the streets, criminals in jail. What's the percentage of separated families, separated parents, product of divorced parents? How many of them that are in that divorce situation, how many of them do you really think saw mom and dad on a daily or weekly basis and were parented by both of them and they were co-parented? Probably not many of them. I would assume either they were raised by a one-parent household or they were split and they were either used as the middleman or they were alienated by one or the other. Stats don't lie. You're hurting your children and your children's future by refusing to co-parent. And again, this is not me talking about from a dad's perspective. This is me talking about as a child's perspective. I'm not a child anymore. Obviously, I was. And I was old enough to understand and comprehend what the hell was going on. And I hated it. Am I going to blame all the bullshit I went through the last how many years did I put myself through on that? No. Can children be affected by their environment? Absolutely. If they're through a hostile environment for a decade and they see how a relationship is going or how a separated relationship is going, a lot of people learn from watching. You know, again, there's exceptions to it. I'm not saying that I was a complete asshole and almost messed up my entire life because of how my parents were during their divorce. Did it affect me? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. But I'm also the type of person now, from, you know, how I've grown. I don't use anything as scapegoats. You know, I'm not here to blame other people and use excuses on why I did the things that I did, or why, you know, why this happened to me or why that happened to me. That's not the type of person I am, at least anymore. You know, I take ownership. So I'm not going to sit here and blame mom and dad for fighting on why I have anger issues. You know, but that's about it. I mean, this is another one I got a little bit heated in. It's hard not to get heated in this. When I'm talking to you from a personal perspective on what my feelings were and what my experience was and how I was directly involved in my parents' divorce, yeah, sometimes I get a little pissed off about it. It's hard not to. If you don't want your kids growing up and seeing this and learning this is how you treat someone and this is how you treat your children's mother, your children's father, learn to co-parent. You know, I shared a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was a week or two ago, that thing that says, today's my ex-wife's birthday, and I showed up with flowers at her house. I showed up with flowers for my two sons to give to her, and I helped them make her breakfast for, it was either her birthday or Mother's Day or something, and goes on to explain, you know, why he did what he did. And what it was he said, I'm helping raise two young men. I want them to, you know, I'm showing them how to treat someone with respect. Whether she's my wife, my ex-wife, or whoever, they need to learn how to respect their mother. That sums this up perfectly. You are raising young men, for example, for sons. I'm assuming they're probably eventually going to be a husband and father. Teach them to show the other respect. Daughters, they very well could be a wife and mother at some point in their future. Teach them to also show respect, and also how they should be treated and how they should be respected. I have two daughters. I am teaching them and raising them how they deserve to be treated, and they are learning that through watching me and how I treat their mother. Children learn through observation and their environment. Nature versus nurture. Sure, you're born with a lot of traits, but there's a lot of habits that are learned. That's all I can say on it. So I'm going to let this one go. We're almost at 30 minutes here. There's a lot more I could talk about this. I'm going to expand on this through other episodes and branch off to different things, you know, talking about children and their environment and so on. But specifically about divorce, the whole message on this is co-parent, co-parent, co-parent. Co-parent every single day. This is not about you and your ex anymore. This is about your children. You want to help your children and be a good parent, then you need to be able to cooperate with your ex and with their other parent. You know, forget the ex part. Think about this as you just need to cooperate with the other person that is helping raise your children. That's it. You don't have to agree on everything. Collaborate. Find ways to be able to get along for the sake of your kids. All right. So that's going to do it. I will say this box fan helped quite a bit in this garage. It's quite nice. I'm not sitting here dying of sweat and heat stroke in my garage while I'm doing a podcast. Side note there. That's about it. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's episode. Again, go ahead and subscribe to me. Follow me on Podbean. If you're watching this on YouTube or on the website, go to the dadden.podbean.com. You'll go right to my page there. Go ahead and follow me so you can get the audio only. What's really nice about Podbean is you can actually download my episodes so you can watch them offline if needed. Unlike YouTube, because YouTube you have to pay for the premium, Podbean allows you to just download the app and you can go to my channel and listen to it while you're doing other things. So you don't have to keep it on the actual screen of YouTube on your phone. You know how YouTube, if you click the button to black out your phone, all of a sudden your audio stops. Podbean won't do that to you, so you can just listen. So it's pretty nice. Go ahead and follow me on there. We'll continue to put up everything on YouTube and on the website. Thanks everyone for tuning in. All right, we'll see everyone.